Wait for my mark. Relax.
Kratos is back, and this time he's got a son, a beard, and a shiny new axe. We've played the new God of War, we've roamed around its new Norse setting, and we don't mean to brag, but we've killed quite a few of its famous figures. And now we've returned, a little bit bloodied up but otherwise good, to report our findings. Spoiler free, here are 6 things we loved about the new God of War, and 1 thing we didn't.
Found it!
Slow down, boy.
Sorry.
You are hunting deer, not chasing it.
Yes, Father.
The change of scenery from the ancient Greece of previous God of War titles to Norse mythos is very cool, no pun intended. A very serious Kratos, who is sometimes accidentally comical in his po-facedness, has gone to Midgard, the Greek gods no more than a forgotten smudge on the bottom of his sandal. Not only is this shift in location great from a story perspective, opening the series up to new interpretations of some fascinating Norse myths and legends, it has possibly given this new God of War license to be the most beautiful in the series so far. With jaw-dropping vistas glinting in the distance, twisted mountains looming up the path ahead, and fresh snow crunching underfoot. Norse mythology also means a shift in cast, and some new gods to kill. And there are some great new gods here. Real gods, meaning they are sleazy, compromised, corrupt, really quite horrible actually. They're very human, in other words.
We do what we please, boy. No excuses.
It's probably telling that the main difference between past God of War games and this one isn't actually the new inclusion of Kratos' son Atreus, who now tags along for the ride. The main difference is one of perspective. In previous God of War games, you were big, but the world was bigger. So Kratos himself was often small and shrunken, a teeny tiny but very furious ant, crawling over a titan the size of a mountain range. Here, Kratos is given real stature, and from the very beginning of the game, you're made to notice it. The camera moves in and stays close, and you often see Kratos from his son's perspective. He's huge and impressive and a little bit scary. You see the rest of the world, however, from over Kratos' shoulder, and the world is even more impressive in its tiniest details. Silver birch trees have peeling strips of bark, rocks have little cracks running through them. And this is the best thing that the shift in camera focus does for God of War. These games have always been graphical showcases, and they've always pushed the boat out when it comes to gigantic displays of strength and spectacle. This time though, the things that the game wants us to look at and be impressed by have changed. There are still gigantic set pieces, of course, but God of War has also learned to look at the other end of the scale, developing an eye for the smaller things, which of course makes the big things all the more awe-inspiring when they do come along.
Allow yourself to feel for them. They will not feel for you.
I understand.
I warned you.
Finally.
You would not listen.
Fine. My turn.
In addition to the old God of War sense of scale, this newest iteration has also got the old God of War sense of pace, which for the most part is hurtling straight ahead as fast as it possibly can, with as much glitz and gore as it can manage. The result is there's very little time to catch your breath, which we're fine with. 1 minute you're doing something bombastic and absolutely crazy, but in 10 minutes from now, things will have escalated so much that whatever you were doing before will feel pretty tame by comparison. Just another highlight amidst an endless highlight reel. It's almost difficult to keep up, but that was always the beauty of the older games. You were too busy ripping gods apart to stop and think about it all. The games as a whole were one big blood haze after another.
Are you even trying?
Mind you, there are points at which the action slows down and Kratos actually takes stock of things, and that's usually down to his son, Atreus. With him, Kratos sets off up a mountain on a mournful mission at the beginning of the game. We won't go too much into the story, but overall, the character of Atreus is well realised. He's weirdly Californian though, at one point walking away from an argument with a whatever. But he's not the whiny, constant voice in your ear that he could have been. He's capable, intelligent, and watchful. He wants so much to live up to his father's expectations and be exactly like him in a lot of ways, but there are times you see his childishness shine through in quiet ways, like when in a lift he bounces up and down on the planks with glee. His and Kratos' relationship is an interesting one. It can be a bit blundering at times, but it can also be pretty touching. It definitely helps too that Atreus is actually quite helpful to have around. In combat, he takes care of himself and lends a hand with his bow and arrow to distract and stun enemies. You can also equip runes to give him extra powers, like being able to summon a herd of boars. He's also useful out of combat though, acting as a sort of hint system if you're stuck about where to go next.
Oh, look! It's Skull and Hati, the giant wolves who chase the sun and moon. Where did they...
Equipping runes is just one step towards this God of War's expanded horizons when it comes to stuff. Here, there's loot, crafting materials, weapons, XP, skills. It's a whole new world of menus and numbers and things to look at. But though it seems deep, it really isn't. There's loot, but this is hardly a Diablo. Just as later there's gear gating, but this isn't a Metroidvania. That's not to say this new stuff isn't fun and that you won't get caught up in it, but it's never going to take the focus away from what we all came here for, the fighting.
Atreus!
We're gonna fight that?
We have no choice.
As you'd expect, the combat is where God of War really shines. Kratos grabs a hold of enemies and they explode in big globs of Lucozade. Every encounter, from huge battles to lowly Draugr brawls, feel real and weighty and satisfying. The Leviathan axe, a new weapon for a slightly more civilized age, is perhaps not quite as much fun as the chains. But the game does manage to mix things up in its second half, and the touch of allowing Kratos to summon the axe back to his hand at any moment really does feel as badass from the first to the 100th time you do it. Boss fights are just as grand as you'd hope. There's a point where you battle a dragon inside its mouth. It's all huge showboating from the developers, of course, but this is exactly why we're here. The thing we weren't so taken by, however, is the story. Overall, it's dull and heavy-handed at times, though that's not to say it can't be affecting too. The truly great motion capture and naturalistic voice acting go a long way to making up for the fact that God of War's storytelling is, at its heart, a frustratingly chugging series of goals and roadblocks. That said, there's a great sense of ambition in its goal of being a single-take game where everything plays out as a single continuous shot. It's a cool idea that works in a lot of places, but it also serves to remind you that editing was created for a reason, and sometimes scenes are overlong and feel a little padded. In the grand scheme of things, it's a minor nitpick, and on a technical and an artistic level, it's an impressive achievement for sure.
I feel nothing!
So, despite the sun and the beard and the new camera, this is God of War. There are light environmental puzzles interrupted with spectacle and combat. The world is a little more open, and there are side quests, but really, it's more a load of extremely pretty corridors connecting hubs and battle arenas. The main thing is, this God of War is honestly the same formula that God of War fans love, partially hidden beneath some pretty good new ideas. And if you focus too much on those, it might seem that Kratos has gone soft or that the series has lost touch with what once made it great. But the reality is, this is still a game about lavish technology and artistry used to great effect to summon up very simple, primal pleasures like ripping bad guys in half with your bare hands. Which is exactly what we wanted, really. If you enjoyed this video, please do give us a like or even a subscribe, and check out some of our other videos on screen now. Thanks for watching. Bye!
Come. No looking back now.